when my family originally landed in Flagstaff, it was my great-grandparents. They had immigrated from Lebanon, and they had come through Ellis Island, and they were making their way across the country trying to find a place to build their own American dream. Well, growing up, I was at our family business constantly. I mean, my handprints are in the parking lot from when I was 1 year old when they were laying new concrete. So, I mean,
that's the type of stuff I love.
So I never met my grandparents. They died before I was born. So to hear their voices is wild because I've seen their pictures so many times. So to hear them talking and they're just sitting at their kitchen tables.
Looking for real stories of real people making a difference in the Grand Canyon State? Welcome to Finding Arizona podcast. We sit down with Arizona's inspiring entrepreneurs, creators, and community leaders and give you a front row seat to their journeys, passions, and projects. Whether you're a local trying to find a hidden gem or just enjoy watching someone chase their dreams, Finding Arizona is your go-to place for authentic conversations with a desert twist. New episodes drop weekly, so hit subscribe and start exploring Arizona one story at a time.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Fighting Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose, and as always, we bring in special guests every week, and today is no different. Ladies and gentlemen, fourth generation Flagstaff native Palmer's, thank you, Palmer, for joining us. Palmer's story is one of both tradition and evolution. While his family's name has long been tied to the beverage industry in northern Arizona, he didn't just step into leadership. He worked his way up from the ground level, which personally I find very endearing, and it's a motto of mine that I try to live by. From being a student brand manager in college to gaining hands-on experience with PepsiCo in California, Palmer built a foundation in sales, operations, before returning home to carry the family legacy. Since stepping into the role as president in 2021, he's been leading a portfolio of companies, including Nackard Pepsi, Highline Refreshment Services, and Legacy Beverage, while also staying deeply involved in industry leadership and local organizations across Arizona. I just want everyone to be completely clear. I mean, this is we're going to be talking a little bit about a continuation program that we've actually talked about here with a previous guest, which is the Reserves Downhill Trails Project. And that's something that I'm very excited to also get into because that's something that I just genuinely find interesting and fascinating. But in today's episode, we'll talk about leadership, legacy, and what it means to build a business that truly is connected to its community. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Finding Arizona podcast, Palmer Nackard. Thank you, Palmer, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jose.
Absolutely. So that being said, I'm very excited to get into what we're talking here about today. And I just want to ask you the question that we typically ask everyone. Give us a little bit of your origin story. I know that I talked a little bit about the fourth generation stuff, but I know for a fact that that kind of thing is daunting, to say the least. I mean, 4 generations of same business can also, have a lot of things that really force you into certain decisions, but also is very compelling. It's very enlightening for those who really enjoy it. And I just really want to understand you as a child. What was that like growing up, seeing all of this go down, and also being somewhat like the reason why it still continues forward? Because as a child of a business owner and entrepreneur, we are the kind of legacy piece. My son, who's in the other room, is very much my legacy piece, because literally he asked me the other day, or he asked me just a few minutes ago, it's like, are you going to record? And I said yes. So I would love to understand from your standpoint, growing up, what's it like to be involved in a business that's lasted so many generations?
Sure. Being born in Flagstaff and the 4th generation to live in Flagstaff and to grow up here, mm-hmm. We have a very extended family in Flagstaff, and most of the family has been entrepreneurial throughout their lives. So there's been a lot of my life growing up was around a lot of family businesses, not just ours that you mentioned, our beverage businesses and our snack business, but restaurants, hotels, real estate,
Yeah.
nightclubs, bars, so like all types of things. So I grew up around a family that really appreciated Flagstaff and the surrounding area and the business opportunities that were here. When my family originally landed in Flagstaff, it was my great grandparents. They had immigrated from Lebanon and they had come through Ellis Island and they were making their way across the country trying to find a place to build their own American dream. That was the hope. And they were kind of, they landed in Atlanta, and that's where my grandfather was born.
Yeah.
And then they kept working their way across the country and landed in Flagstaff, which at the time was a couple thousand people. It was just a tiny little town way before Route 66. The
Yes.
railroad was getting built. So Flagstaff was up and coming, but it was really small. And they, as the story goes, it reminded them of the mountains in Lebanon where they had come from. Flagstaff's very mountainous and filled with pine trees, and it did remind them of where they had come from. So they
Okay.
landed here and they stayed here. They opened a store called the New York store, and it was a general store. You could
Yeah.
pick up groceries, you could send your mail, you could buy clothing there, and it was a kind of a staple of town as town was growing.
Mhm.
And once they got here, they had 6 more kids, my great grandparents. So my grandfather had a lot of brothers and sisters. He was the oldest. And that's why there are quite a few Nackards still in town here.
Okay.
And almost all of them were entrepreneurial. And in fact, there's a lot of stories of failed business attempts, car dealerships. They were big into slot machines. So,
Okay. Yeah.
in bars around the area, you could have slot machines. But, a lot of this time when my grandfather was growing up was prohibition. So alcohol was not allowed.
Mhm.
Really where my grandparents first found success, my grandfather and my grandmother, Fred and Monica, was when prohibition was lifted. So when prohibition was lifted, they applied for a liquor license and they started their first beverage business in 1934, which was Fred Nackard Wholesale Liquor. And that was really the foundation for the 3 businesses that we currently are operating.
Great.
And over time, that business evolved, and they got into non-alcoholic products like Dr. Pepper and Nesbitt soda, which you may or may not have ever heard of. And then they did sign a Pepsi franchise in the early 40s. And we can get into all that because there's some fun history about
Yeah, I would love
how
to.
we got there. But so because of that, there was quite a bit of entrepreneurial spirit in my family. And just to be clear, I'm the 3rd generation in this business. So I'm the 4th generation to live in Flagstaff. My kids, I have a 4 and a 2-year-old. They're the 5th generation. And the 3rd generation, we joke often. It's funny now, but it could turn into a sad laugh, I guess. But 3rd generation typically is the generation in business, family business, that loses the business somehow. Either it fails or they sell it because they're not capable of running it, or just choose not to run it.
Yeah.
And there was a time I grew up in the business, and there were times I thought, is this what I want to do? And that's why I went and did other things, and I found my way back here. And leaving Flagstaff really helped me appreciate, for one, the area and the town, but also the businesses. Going and working elsewhere, learning how other businesses operate, gave me really the foundation to come back here and really put my heart into keeping this business not just alive, but how do I expand it? I really do have I feel blessed that I was born into this business, so I feel I have to prove that it wasn't just something given to me. I want to make it better and bigger and stronger. And so that's really what my goal is these days. But so that was life growing up around here. Was a big family, and quite a few businesses, and got to see businesses come and go and succeed and fail. And it taught me a lot about business and sales. My parents were both phenomenal salespeople. They both are still phenomenal salespeople. So I was around that a lot growing up, and that was a fun thing to be around and learn from.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll go back to the very beginning and just the fact that it's so beautiful that your family found something that represented to them the American dream, not only for the business end, but also personally, to find a actual place that resembles where you grew up or represents a place that looks similar to where you grow up. It's truly remarkable that they found Flagstaff when they did, especially the fact that you look at the time and just what's available, travel wise, horseback and buggy or train or, something like walking and just try to do it on your own. It's incredible, just the amount of pressure and the amount of stakes at hand for a family to pick up and leave. And just, I look at it from the standpoint of both of my parents were met in the military. My mom is from the Hopi Reservation, which is close by Flagstaff. And so that is a place. Flagstaff is, to me, the biggest city closest to where I grew up. And, not to knock on Winslow, not to knock on some of those, the smaller towns, but Flagstaff representatively, to me, is just a pinnacle and also kind of this beautiful piece that lives in the woods in a unique environment, but is also it's just so remarkable where it stands as far as people, place, environment, all of it. It's just truly it's a really special place. I like it. I like going there. I've not had the luxury to live there. I would like to live there. That would be kind of a dream place to live for me after retirement or something like that. But it is, again, one of those places where I truly find a lot of interesting stories coming out of. So thank you for sharing that little bit about your family history. I do have a question as far as like the history of it and just kind of, your great grandparents or grandparents.
My grandparents founded the beverage business.
Okay. So from that point, I would love, because you brought up the fact that's like they're in a place and time, especially Prohibition, but also in a place of time where like handwriting and journals and diaries were very prevalent. Is there handwritten notes or anything that from your grandparents from that time that you researched or looked up or found or anything like that kind of can bring more detail from that time and era?
We do. Luckily, because they founded a business that grew fast and were expanding quickly and was successful, we have all types of documents from the 30s and 40s about, either letters back and forth between, for example, my grandfather and Pepsi at the time about franchising an area, and and disagreements, that are written out. It's so funny in the world today of just texts or even how we're communicating right now. You can see somebody, but back then you might write a, kind of a fiery letter, type it out, seal it up, mail it, wait, 2 weeks for a response probably at the earliest. And so you can see these conversations back and forth, but they were building businesses and it was the way to do it. We also have one of my cousins found at the Northern Arizona University Library in their archives a recording of my grandparents that a student did. And I'm going to blank on the exact date, but it was, I want to say late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah.
And they're talking, it's interesting, they're talking about the flu pandemic that wiped out. Yeah, portions of Flagstaff. And
well, I remember seeing photos when the pandemic was happening of like that period in time, and just like same people wearing certain things, some people not wearing certain things. yeah, it's a definitely like, it's very cool.
It is, and to hear, so I never met my grandparents. They died before I was born. So to hear their voices is wild because I've seen their pictures so many times. So to hear them talking, and they're just sitting at their kitchen table. So the student came and interviewed them at their kitchen table. That house that they're in is the house that my dad grew up in. And it's also the house that I grew up in. So they're just, it's, when you hear a piece of history like that, and they talk about all types of stuff, Flagstaff, you know, when they were growing up, how it was then when they were being interviewed, you know, struggling through different times of business and things like that. So it's a really interesting interview, and I get to hear my grandparents speak, which is interesting to me because I never met them.
Yeah. Was there, I mean, like, I imagine that there are things like that, but just not cognizant to you, like the idea of like, you're a family of historians, whether you like it or not. You guys are a generation of family members that consist in a place that really time, you know, evolves. And you're just kind of like, again, a student who probably looked at your grandparents was like, oh yeah, they've been here like years. Let me interview them so I can get some stories about like what it was like before, or like before I was born, or before, you know, all that things. But it's like, again, you do that long enough, you know, generations of it, you become the thing. You know, it's just really, I find it one part endearing because, you know, you don't ask for it, but it's just, it's something very cool that's like, you just grow up and you just live your life, and people find their way towards you because you have a business or have something that is prevalent at the time. And it's just a piece of history. The fact that it's like your grandchildren can find it and like love you from afar, you know, years later, I love those types of things because to me, those are the things that really bring humanity to its fullest. And I love those types of stuff. I'm just in that phase right now because, you know, my son is 5. Him seeing history take place with the Artemis 2, you know, some of the stuff going around in the news today, but it's like, there's something about that, a little boy who probably doesn't get it or doesn't understand it, but the fact that I'm doing this and my grandchildren can hear my voice later down the road, really truly is just something that I find endearing. And so I will now move on to you know, this business being that it is a family business, and you had brought up stepping away. You know, some people listening with the assumption that family business equals an easy path, but you worked outside the company first. So what was it like working at PepsiCo to away from your family and then slowly transitioning? And then I would love to hear from your perspective, what was the straw that broke the camel's back to lead you right back to Flagstaff and working inside the family business?
Well, growing up, I was at our family business constantly. I mean, my handprints are in the parking lot from when I was 1 year old when they were laying new concrete. So, I mean,
it's the type of stuff I love. Like, again,
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
It's
Me
like
too. Me too.
It's like your little hands, not just your adult hands, your little hands. It's like, there's no better feeling than like, yeah, he belongs in this position. Like, he's absolutely the person for this job.
And you know what? So I grew up in the business. I was around my parents always at the business. My mom would pick us up and take us to the office often because she worked in the business as well. Yeah. And so we were just there, and we knew everybody, and we have incredible tenure with our managers. We have some managers that have been here over 40 years. We have many that have been here over 20 years, 25 years. So plenty of them have worked here my entire life. And so I've gotten, I've known them since I was a kid. Yeah. But when you're in high school and you're thinking about college and what you want to do, I really, I did at least. I wanted to get out and try something else and do new things. And so I applied to schools really on the West Coast, but outside of Arizona. And I got into Loyola Marymount in Los Angeles, and great school. I was very happy to go there and go live in near the beach
Yeah.
in Los Angeles. Just totally different than growing up in Flagstaff. And I studied finance.
Mhm.
As I was going through school, I thought, well, maybe I don't want to go back to the family business. Maybe banking or asset management was kind of, these were things that my classmates were talking about, my friends and I were talking about doing some career in the finance world. And I did have some internships that, were right along those lines. And I found it just not what I had grown up in such a sales-based world.
Yeah.
Not that finance, there's a lot of selling in finance. But our selling is like face-to-face, owner to owner. You're talking to restaurant owners, talking to convenience store owners, those types of things.
Yeah.
And it seemed a little too stuffy for me. And so I applied for a job at Red Bull.
Yeah.
Red Bull's North American headquarters is just down the street from Loyola Marymount. And I had a friend that was a student brand manager at Red Bull. He was going to graduate. I was going to be going into my junior year in college. And he said, I would recommend you for this job. You need to apply. I'll recommend you for it. And I got the job at Red Bull, and it was incredible. I got to see a beverage company that I had never interacted with. My family doesn't sell Red Bull. They were a competitor of ours, but we respected Red Bull. It was the original, energy drink. And being a 19, 20-year-old working at Red Bull was so fun. I learned a ton. I got to meet a lot of people at Red Bull. My whole job was supporting events like Red Bull Flugtag and all these fun events that they hold where I'm sure you've seen plenty of these videos online. Yeah. And LA was kind of a mecca for that because that's where their headquarters was. So great time. I loved it. And then as I was getting close to graduating, I did not plan to work at PepsiCo. In fact, I wanted to work at Red Bull. And I applied. I was asking my boss, asking people what's available, and they really didn't have something available for a recent grad with no experience in the energy business, really.
Yeah.
And so they said, look, you could work as an unpaid intern. I was like, I'm graduating college. I got to pay for rent. I live in Los Angeles. I can't do that. So I applied for a couple different companies, but one of them I did end up applying for was PepsiCo, just for a sales rep position based in Torrance, California, in South LA. And they took one look at my resume and saw I'd grown up in the beverage industry, and they basically offered me the job on the spot because I knew every product. I didn't have to learn the industry. I knew it already. And
I'm just imagining that person, probably knows nothing about you, but like I would hope the cartoon version or like the movie version is just like them looking like Nackard. And I'm like, why does he want a sales position? Like,
well, I got that question a lot. Doesn't your family have a franchise?
Like that.
Why are you working here?
Yeah.
But but at the same time, very few people actually knew my last name or what my family did, which really was good for me. Like I said, it's a blessing. I know that now to be in the family business, but there is a piece of it where you're always the owner's kid, and you definitely get treated differently around your family business. I mean, as much as people want to teach you, and you're always going to be the owner's kid, so they're always a little careful around what they say to you. You don't get the feed. That's the biggest thing I think I've learned is you just don't get the feedback you need to become your best self.
Yeah.
People are going to hold back because they don't want to say something wrong, and they don't want to tell you you're doing bad. And oftentimes to get better, you have to be told you need to work on things.
Oh, absolutely.
And I rarely got that around our own business just because I was who I was, and it wasn't anybody's fault. I don't hold that against them. They just were cautious. So I applied for this job at PepsiCo. I got the job, and it was just an entry-level sales job, and I took it because it paid well. I was like, I need to make money. I'm graduating college, and I know how to do this. And the role was almost 100% business development. Just go sign up restaurants that are currently serving Coke and switch them to Pepsi. And basically LA was my area. I mean, it was vast. Originally it was my market was Southeast LA, so La Habra. Oh my gosh, that's a while ago now. I'm going to blank on Whittier, like that type of area of South LA.
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, I would cold call 15 to 20 restaurants every single day. And I learned so much, not just about selling, but about business, because I was talking to other owners. I was 22 or 23, and I was talking to family business owners that had been selling hamburgers at the same location for 50 years, So it was great. Like I learned so much from these people. They were mentors to me without even knowing they were mentors on how to run a successful business, how to change with consumers, because consumers' tastes do change and evolve, and how to transition from one generation to the next generation. I saw all this with small restaurants, with restaurant chains, all types of things. And that I learned so much working in that sales role, and I ended up being good at it. Because I think I had so much territory to cover and was not afraid to work 10 or 11-hour days and just cold call nonstop and follow through on what I said I was going to do. I signed a lot of accounts over.
Yeah.
And because of that, I got recognized. I got noticed in the region. And so then I got a promotion into a job that I was vastly underprepared for or underqualified for. And that was a big learning lesson for me. In fact, I take this approach with up and coming managers in our business that have high potential, is I throw them into a big job and see if they can sink or swim, or, see if they can swim or sink. It's trial by fire, kind of in the classic sense. And I always make sure they have the tools they need to succeed. But I learned with this position, somebody believed in me. They gave me a chance, and I nearly screwed it up because I wasn't prepared for it. But I learned fast, and because I was determined to, prove that I could do it. And I was young. I had nothing, no kids, no mortgage. It was like I had a company Prius. And I just lived in that thing. And I would drive up and down California, up the Central Coast, and then I'd come back down the coastline. And we had facilities all along these routes that I would stop in. And Vegas was my territory, and Reno. So I was constantly bouncing around. And I learned just so much. I was 24 probably, trying to influence people that were twice my age to do something, because I had no real authority. I was managing a portion of the business without having a major team below me. So I was learning influence management, and I was around some very high performers that taught me a lot. Yeah. And I learned so much from that time. And it's ironic because a lot of the people that I worked with then, I still work with now in different capacities, because I'm still in that world, obviously, the Pepsi world, in my own business now. But those people that I was working with, many of us were the same age. Now those people are running entire regions, portions of the country, portions of the business. So we've kind of, always stayed in touch. And it was a very good decision that I didn't even mean to make. I mean, I was young and just trying to make some money out of college. And I'm so glad that I did that. And learning that business that way is what showed me that it would be a good decision to come back to the family business.
Beautiful.
Because that's where I learned how incredible our family business really was, and how valuable it was, and how special it would be to keep it going, and how many employees counted on my parents to make good decisions and keep the business rolling. I used to think that it was small, like that our business was small, or that Flagstaff was small. But then I realized, like, not at all. It's opposite. It's big, and it can have a huge impact on the community and the families that we employ. But it took working for a company with 300,000 people to figure that out. I mean, PepsiCo's behemoth, So I thought, I learned so much about how to be efficient and how to sell and the financial side of running a big business. But
Yeah.
what I knew PepsiCo was missing, and I learned this in my family business growing up, was that community tie and how you can be just a humongous impact to the community. And it's not a knock on PepsiCo; they're just too big to really
You're
do
servicing
that.
too many people
Yeah.
to be able to be that consistent with the each community.
Yeah.
So I it is truly remarkable to look back on life and be like, oh yeah, I did that. Like it's in all actuality, it's really incredible that you had the opportunity. One part that Red Bull was in its heyday, like literally heyday of like, we're flying off the edge of our seat and we're going for it. And like, I remember it particularly because I went to school at ASU, and those Red Bull girls, those, people who are going to the students and the events that they put on, that they sponsored and gave Red Bull energy drinks, it's really a testament to the time and period that you were growing up with, to allow yourself to educate not only, the different types of levels to this, but also the fact that it is still a beverage but it's outside of the parameters of what your family, you were saying it's a competitor, but it's not essentially what you guys were doing. To allow yourself to be like, okay, I'm going to pick this place and allow myself to just soak in everything, and to somehow take everything that you've learned and evolved from, and to say, hey, wow, I can't believe this is, what my family does, but on a different scale. And to say, hey, I want that. I want to put myself in that position so that I can help in any capacity that I can, and just make this thing my own. And that in itself, the fact that it's like we're talking about this now, I say kudos to you for allowing yourself to be like, hey, and I think it happens a lot with children of entrepreneurs or business leaders, or just anyone who's like high achieving. I feel like with the kids, there's a level of like looking up to, like, hey, my dad does that, or my parent. In some cases, like myself, where both my parents were 9-to-5ers. They did what they could with the education that they had. And for me, there was no trade. There wasn't really anything that I was like, oh, that's what my dad does, or that's what my mom does. So I had free reign. But ultimately, I chose what I chose because of my grandfather. This business, what we're doing right now, came from storytelling, from my grandfather, who held a lot of those stories and felt like it was so important culturally to tell these to younger students, younger people, so that our culture can continue forward. And for me, I'll say this. I was close to my grandfather. We were very close to one another, but there was a level of like age gap where I'm like, I'm a teenager when I'm with him the most. And, you don't want to listen, or you don't want to take heed of what your 85, 65, 75-year-old grandparent says to you. But as I grew up, and as I, went to college and understood what he was trying to do, that was the antithesis of what this podcast is. And then it kind of dawned on me. I'm like, oh my God, he was helping me the entirety of this time. And, just of evolution. And I love that kind of thing. And just, it is something that I truly find remarkable in your story, that you've come a long way from, going away from the family business and trying to try something else out, and then to come back and say, hey, I learned a lot. Let me move this forward. Let's move the needle forward. And that's going to lead me to my next question. You're stepping into your father's position, and there are some level of like pressures that come with carrying that family legacy. And one of those pressures is old school versus new school. How do you balance honoring the traditions of a long-standing family business while bringing in new ideas of a modern strategies? So can you enlighten me the fact that's like, what is Pop's is he it's all yours, or is he like, hey, whenever you're available, come talk to me? Or is it like, no, I just truly want to give it all to you. And like, I would love to understand that perspective, but also just redefining the fact that you're stepping in, you're a little bit younger, you have ideas and these strategies. I would love to understand like how you're balancing all of this.
Yeah, I have to give my dad credit. He learned a hard lesson when his dad was at the end of his life. My dad and his dad, I never got to meet my grandfather, but I know they had, from what my dad's told me, a pretty tough relationship. My dad and others that had worked for my grandfather alongside my dad will tell me my grandfather fired my dad multiple times. So it was like he was really hard on him. Wow. He used to tell him he wasn't capable of doing running the business until the very end of his life. Then he said, you can do it, but there wasn't a whole lot of planning there. And he held on, my grandfather held on till the very end, till his deathbed, and never relinquished anything as far as control or ideas to my dad. And my dad always talked about how he had all these ideas, but that his dad wouldn't listen to him, that he thought, this is the way to do it. I built this business and I know what's best. Mm-hmm. And so my dad always would tell me when I came back, and I should say both my parents said, you don't need to work in the family business, but you need to put your best effort for it to be successful in whatever you do. So, you're not going to just ride a couch anywhere or anything like that. Like you really gotta put an effort out. And luckily I don't, they raised me right somehow, because I always had some drive to succeed in like a lot of it. Not sure where it came from. Obviously my parents, I guess, but, and so when I did end up coming back, my dad was thrilled, because there was a succession plan there, and almost immediately he got me involved with some decision making. When I first came back, I was I was one of our managers, so I was managing a portion of the business, but I was not by any means at an executive level making large decisions. But he would include me in a lot of meetings so that I could listen in, learn. He would invite me to meetings that he would have with suppliers, with Pepsi, go to New York to PepsiCo. And so I just would sit and listen to these meetings. Even when I was in high school, he would take me to some of these. So from an early age, he was asking me, what do you think about that? So you sat in that meeting. What's your opinion? What do you think? What would you do? And he would tell me if my idea was just totally wrong or if there was some merit to it. He'd say, good, that's a good idea. And he really did put a good plan in place to transition out. I think at a time he thought he was going to work forever till the day he died. I mean, that was kind of his thought. And it's all he did for 50 years was run the business. Yeah. So.
And to also see your grandfather do that until the day he died is something representative to like, that's what I'm going to do. Like, there's no other option.
Mm-hmm. And so I think it took him, he promoted me to vice president, one of our vice president roles. And so that's when I was working alongside of him for a couple of years. We had a really strong team at the time, and I was starting to understand how to run this place, how to run the business, and what I thought needed to happen to move forward. And I think that was the point where he thought, I don't know this for sure, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he understood he could step back and could take a break. Yeah. And he did it slowly over time. I mean, I'm talking, years. It wasn't like I'm retiring and this is yours. I still, if he's terrible with technology, I'll send this to him when it's done. I think he'll listen to it, but he still would not see. I think he'll call me and say, I'm not even retired now. What are you talking about? So he's still my boss and he still has an office. But he really has taken most of his time towards retirement, and which is great. He needs to, I think. He can enjoy, life, and he's got grandkids now, which he loves, and so, I think him learning that lesson with his dad really did help with our transition here. And Now, I took over I took over as running the day-to-day operations. My title hadn't changed. I was still vice president, but I really was running day-to-day operations like 3 months before the pandemic hit.
Got it.
So I had all these plans that I wanted to implement, and then it just was like, nope, that's gone. All I'm going to focus on for a year is regulations, keeping employees safe, navigating how our industry was going to work through all of this. We were essential employees, which was great. So we got to keep working. But, you think back to like 2 weeks to flatten the curve, just how little we knew about everything at that time. So I put everything to the side, all these ideas. But I always told our team that there are going to be companies that come out of this stronger than they went into it. And we're going to be one of those companies.
Yeah.
So because portions of our business completely died off. I mean, we're in the vending business. The biggest vending customers we have are, college and university, big workplaces, schools. Nobody was there during the pandemic. They were closed.
Yeah.
So we reallocated a lot of our assets, a lot of our people, and we got into new lines of business like coffee, hot coffee, which we had never been in before. We really refocused some of our internal structure. So we put somebody in charge of, we call it capabilities, but the idea is to improve business processes. So it's everything from the softwares that we use, the HR partners that we partner with, benefits, technology. That investment has really shaped the way we came out of the pandemic and how prepared we were. I mean, we never even bothered using Teams prior to the pandemic. Now most of our meetings are on Microsoft Teams, so a lot's changed there just out of necessity. But by reorganizing and changing our structure, we came out just firing out of the pandemic. And luckily the industry was doing well too. It was a strong time. People were, they were getting stimulus checks. They were spending money on groceries. They were buying our products. And we came out stronger, which is that was our plan, come out stronger. Since 2023-ish, I've been able to really start implementing a lot of the plans that I had prior to the pandemic. And a lot of that is planning for our people. I mentioned we have a lot of managers that have incredible tenure. Someone is almost going to make it 50 years in our company, which is just incredible. But what happens is you have to make sure your bench is strong at that point. We're going to have a whole slew of our senior leaders retire all in the same the next 5 years, really. So a lot of our focus has been developing the next group of leaders. So identifying them, putting them through additional training, identifying, what they need to do in order to get to the next step, moving them into new jobs. I told you I like to challenge people by putting them in jobs that they're probably not totally prepared for, but letting them learn along the way.
Love it.
So we're at a good spot, actually. I feel good about that. Now things happen, where people leave or they don't feel comfortable moving up, which is fine, but we work through that. And we are at a time where we're basically defining the next 10 years of our business right now is how I look at it.
Cool.
And a lot of that is training our people properly. A lot of it is making sure our product assortment is correct. A lot of it is making sure that our buildings are updated. That was our buildings looked the same my entire life. So that's been a big process.
That was one of the questions in my head. I'm like, this kid has probably seen the same house, the same kind of couple of buildings, on top of he could probably go drive around Flagstaff and be like, Grandpa, serviced them or did something with them, or you could probably drive down what's that main road down Flag that goes,
Route 66 goes one way.
And I was like, you could probably drive down that whole section and you just be like, remember hanging out here. That's the type of stuff that it's like that should be a documentary or some kind of thing that needs to be preserved, because you don't get that every day. You don't get those stories every day, and that's precious to me. Like, to me, I'm like, that's freaking cool. Like, that's the chain link. But yeah, it's like the one thing that I kind of take away from what you're saying here is not only are you defining or redefining the next couple of years, but also on top of that, you're trying to define how your business meets the community. And one of the things that we kind of touched upon in my introduction was you guys, involving your family business in the community at large. And one of the things that you guys have done at Nackard Pepsi is contributed to the Reserves Downhill Trails Project in Flagstaff. I just personally would like to ask you, is like, what made that project worth investing in from your perspective and your family's perspective and the business at large? Why is this massive thing, this like large scale project, so important, not only to the community, but to the business at hand?
So giving back to the community is literally ingrained in our business. So from the start, our mission statement has been to provide the highest quality products, back them up with the best people in the industry, and always give back to the communities we do business in. So that's old. I mean, it's written on our walls, basically, that mission statement. And so to give back to the communities is basically every decision we make has some aspect of that. Is how will that impact the community? And I'm not just talking Flagstaff. I mean, we service most of northern Arizona. We don't go to Kingman. We get to service a lot of the Navajo Nation, the Hopi Reservation. So we cover a big, unique area with not a ton of people in it. A beautiful area, a lot of tourists, but what we do impacts all the communities that we service. So we're constantly thinking about how to improve those communities. And our philanthropic mission is to increase access to art, science, and recreation.
Yeah.
And so almost every time we are presented with an opportunity to support something financially, or if we want to just go out and support something financially, we check it against that mission. And it's a pretty broad mission on purpose, but we do want to focus it on increasing access. That's important to us. And, some of our big partners in town, like Lowell Observatory, or we have a lot of scholarships and things. They're really designed to get people to places where they wouldn't have been able to get to on their own, maybe.
Yeah.
And so I grew up enjoying the outdoors here in Flagstaff. I'm a skier, mountain biker, hiker, runner. I'm in the forest as much as I can be. But I know that I came from a family that could afford to do all of that stuff. And a lot of families that grow up in the area can't afford. I mean, anybody can walk out in the forest, but not anybody can go mountain biking. It's an expensive sport to get into. Or skiing, are you kidding me? So it's expensive, but it's such a good thing. It's such a big part of my life that sometimes we go heavy on the recreation stuff because I just feel like that's such an important thing. And we support a group in town called Flyers, which is Flagstaff Youth Riders. 1,000 kids every year go into this program. My kids, they start at 2 years old on little balance bikes, and these kids grow up to be teenage mountain bike racers in the high school league around the state now.
Yeah.
So, that Grand Canyon Youth, which gets youth into the Grand Canyon, these types of things are important. We've been longtime supporters.
I just remembered because you brought up the Boy Scouts of America. We just did it not a while ago. We did an interview with them, but they go out towards Grand Canyon and do a bunch of different things with the kids in their group.
Yep. We live in an amazing place. You should be able to see it. There's people that grew up in Flagstaff that never seen the Grand Canyon.
That is I don't believe that sometimes, and I'm just like, yeah, there's probably one, but it's like, that is like astronomical. You're so close. Like I know. Literally could throw a rock and you could probably get close to it.
I know. Well, so we've been longtime supporters of Flag Bike Org because Flag Bike Organization, they do incredible work around town. Yeah. They've really over the last, they've vastly transformed trail access in Flagstaff, not just for mountain bikers, but for anybody who wants to use trails, including equestrian and runners, hikers. So we've been longtime supporters of their trail program, which has typically been maintenance of trails. It's been difficult to get new trails built in Flagstaff. And growing up here, I rode a lot of trails that were illegal, technically. I mean, they weren't on the map. They weren't the Forest Service didn't approve these trails. They were trails that people went out and built. But Flagstaff became this kind of like in the know mecca of riding. There was a lot of great riding here, but it lacked this ability to be kind of legit, because you weren't supposed to work on these trails. They were illegal. What Flag Bike Org and a lot of people outside of Flag Bike Org did was get this larger trail plan approved, which included a lot of trails that, meet all types of needs of people. So everything from beginner trails to intermediate trails, but really where we were still lacking were the advanced trails.
We have trails.
Yeah, we have a couple. And granted, those do kind of meet a specific need. Not everybody can ride these trails, but we talk about increasing access. Advanced riders need good trails to ride too. And I always
you think about the ripple effect. I mean, I already know, like, to my audience, we've done the podcast with the Flagstaff Bike Organization, and like I just think about that. The way that he put it was the ripple effect of having kind of these black diamond level trails, and the effect of, like, you get expert riders. That's just people, tourists coming and wanting to ride. But then on top of that, you get Red Bull again, bringing Red Bull back into the picture. You get their events and the people who want to be at those events to ride these expert trails. I mean, it's a win-win, so to speak, for everyone. And the way that I feel like the organization is going about it is they want to be in line with the city, in line with the community, and they want to show that's like, we can do this. We just have to put in the effort and make sure that we're appeasing everyone, not only the city at large, but also, and I found this very endearing, the natural community, which is the animals that live in that you guys are riding in their home. And so like we want to respect that part of it and not take over their land and ruin their ecosystem. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we connect these trails. They're interconnected, not only for beginners, but all types of riders. And it's just, I look at it as like, you guys are making the effort to make sure that it's something beautiful for all. And I love that.
And that's the beauty of what Flag Bike Organization has done, is they know the stakeholders. They understand what needs to be done to build sustainable trails that takes the wildlife in, as one of the major first steps, is making sure the wildlife is in the place it needs to be. And part of the problem with the trails that currently exist is that was never done. A lot of the trails that are being replaced with these new trails were built by people that just wanted harder trails, and they didn't know where certain habitats were, and they weren't necessarily building for the best drainage when we have crazy monsoons and things like that. So these new trails will get built properly, and they should keep the same, extreme feel of the current trails, which is important to me. And I'm somebody who does ride those trails. Yeah. And this to me was a no-brainer to support. It's just, it's finalizing a major trail program, trail plan. It's the cherry on top, and it really does. You think about it, there's kids in town that have been riding since they were 2 years old. Those kids, a lot of them are going to be expert riders when they get older, and they're going to need expert terrain in order to ride. And if it's not there, then they'll go build it, which is not what, is not always the best thing for the environment. So having these legit trails will really help round out what's offered in Flagstaff and really make it kind of that legit mecca that was missing, that legitimate part prior to this trail plan.
I have nothing but high hopes. I mean, the way that we interpreted from our previous podcast was just, again, it's a matter of time. You guys are doing everything, what the organization is doing everything they possibly can to meet expectations and, trying to make sure that they have everything financially to make this completed project come to fruition. So I really do have high hopes, and I'm excited too, because When you guys cut that ribbon, I'm definitely going to be there. I'm really going to show up and make sure that, like, again, you guys have the audience. And I really do find it such an endearing project that once it's done and completed, I can see all sorts of people using it and utilizing it for its potential and to its fullest. So, I have high hopes and I look forward to it. As we conclude our conversation, I kind of look towards the future when we are finishing up. And one of the last questions is like, for your future and what we're talking about legacy wise and your family business, for someone in their 20s or early 30s who might be one day take over a family business, not just, not yours. I'm not trying to get your kids to do, but what lesson do you wish you knew earlier so that our listeners who, have that opportunity or possibility can use that and guide them?
I think, this was something I did know, but I didn't fully appreciate until I came back in the family business. But it really comes down to your people. I mean, if your industry changes dramatically, but you have the best people in the industry, you can pivot on a dime and everyone is going to be in the same boat and they're going to all row together and they're not going to be scared and they're going to, we always say aim for first. If you're constantly aiming for first, the worst, if you miss, you're probably going to be second, which is still damn good.
Yeah.
We want to be first, but if you can't always be first. There's good competition out there. So,
absolutely.
We're not perfect. Like I wish we could reduce our turnover and really connect with every employee and pay everyone, as much money as they needed. We live in an expensive place. It's hard to live here. So that is my future goal, is to get to that place, and we're working on it. But I know that having the best people, we can pretty much do anything, and the industry is going to change. Luckily, we're in an industry. I mean, people wake up thirsty every day. So if we got a beverage, people are going to want it. The beverages might change. They might be in different packaging, but humans get thirsty. They're going to want a beverage. That's what we're going to do. We're going to keep providing, high quality products. It's that original mission statement. It doesn't need to change because I see that guiding us moving forward. The same mission that we've had can move us forward. And it's all about good products, the best people, and giving back to the community. If we keep doing that, I don't see anything that can really stop us.
Me neither. I love it. It's just one of those things that's like, man, it just works. It's just, when you have a good set of people and good business, acumen, it just works. Like it's just easy. I do like to get a little bit personal just for a minute. And this is kind of like, I usually ask people at the end, it's like, give us, something about your routine or something. But for you, I would love to understand, because you're in a beautiful place, a perfect day in Flagstaff. You have a full day, no meetings, no responsibilities. What does your ideal day look like? And be specific, because if there's a restaurant, I want to know. If there's a place that you enjoy most, the trail, I want to know. So be specific in this, please.
Wow. Okay. So I'm probably waking up and I'm going to swing by one of our great coffee shops in town. Flagstaff has such good coffee shops. I am, we sell Matador coffee. They've got some shops in town, but nice. Flag Station on 180 on the way to Snowball might be my stop because, for one, they sell gluten-free items. I'm gluten-free, and it's on the way to Snowball. So hopefully I'm going skiing with my daughter. She's 4. We went skiing 12 days this last year. So we're going up to the mountain. We're taking a few runs. We're coming back down, probably stopping at Mama B's to grab a burger. Phenomenal burgers. Probably drop my daughter off, pick up my son, who's 2. Now, you can do this in Northern Arizona. You can ski and mountain bike in the same day. There's not many places you can do that. So we'll probably drive 30 minutes down to Sedona. Okay. Get on the bike. I have a seat that my son can ride with me on the bike. And we're going on a quick ride. He's only 2, so you can't go too far, but he just loves it. Just loves being outside. So we're getting our ride in.
Your daughter
back in the car.
Have her own bike?
My daughter, she can ride. Yeah, she rides a pedal bike now.
Nice.
Yep.
if you're doubling the two, like her
No.
behind and him in, I was like, that is kudos to you, Dad. That's a lot of like,
Yeah.
dad.
We do it. We do it. She'll be on her. I mean, I'm just like, I'm a snack container at that point. That's my whole job, is just pedal us up the hill and just feed us snacks. Yeah.
I love it.
Then we're loading the car back up, driving back up to Flag, and grabbing my wife, and probably going to. I mean, we have so many. I can't call out a restaurant because we have so
I know.
many
I'm
good
like,
customers.
I said specific.
Yeah.
I was like, you gave me a handful. I'm like, that's good enough. And I'm like, I get it. You've probably know a lot of restaurant people and like restaurateurs, all that. And I only say that just because, like, again, you're such a, like, you brought it up. It's like you live in a unique situation where you can capable of like doing this within just like 30-minute drive. It is, you can do this. And I'm like, that's the best feeling, because you're just outside all day long, enjoying the weather, enjoying the outdoors, and then you can pop into the spot, whatever spot, and enjoy, enjoy your day fully. And there's something about Flag too, in particular, that I just enjoy, like the people there. Like there's, you could walk. Like I'll bring this up. I went with my wife and son, and he was probably like 1 or 2 at the time, and we just went for like fun. Like we just wanted to take him to Flagstaff for the first time. We bought out an Airbnb, and we just walked around the old town and just enjoyed ourselves. And it was just, again, one of those situations where we spent the whole weekend just outside enjoying where we could find, and just taking him on the stroller. It was magical. Like I talked to a bunch of people, and it was just one of those weekends where you're at ease, and you're in a place that is beautiful and enjoyable. And that was incredible weekend. And I think about it all the time. I want to do it again. But again, I look at you as someone who's living the dream. I really do. I appreciate you giving me a little bit of your time. And I know,
Jose, I just want to tell you, the best way to cap off your day in Flagstaff, if it's winter, you got to see a show. So the Orpheum downtown, especially if it's winter, great shows. I've seen a lot of great acts there. Cold War Kids, just a lot of good shows that come there. If it's summertime, Pepsi Amphitheater, obviously I'm a little partial to that, but if you haven't been to Pepsi Amphitheater, it's one of the most beautiful venues, not just in Arizona, I think in the entire country, surrounded by pine trees.
I love it.
And the summer shows there are just magical. So can't forget to plug the shows up, because we get such good shows too, and people don't always realize that. So.
No, that's incredible. I mean, like one of the things that we're planning, and a lot of people do this, but it's like he's right at the prime age of like the Polar Express ride. Like it's going to be this one or the next year. It's like we're prime and ready. We're ready for it. So I think, Palmer, you are fantastic. One of my wishes, and I say this all the time, I love meeting new people on our podcast. I love making friends on our podcast. So if there's a future where I can come visit you and have a cup of coffee, or go skiing or snowboarding with you on the slopes, I would love to make that happen. And before we go, I give you, the floor is yours to promote. Let everyone know where they can find you online. Anything that you want to promote personally, the floor is yours, Palmer. Take it away.
Oh, I appreciate that. I encourage people to come visit Northern Arizona. We are a great place. I know I don't have to tell people that live in the valley to come in the summer because they want to escape the heat, but come up, enjoy, just everything we have to offer. Yep. Come spend your money here. Flagstaff needs support. I mean, we're a tourism-based area. Prescott's the same way. We have a big base in Prescott. Come to the world's oldest rodeo this summer in Prescott. Do something fun there. Go to Sholo. Enjoy the mountains there. Go up to Sunrise. Go skiing. Go mountain biking at Sunrise. And when you come up, enjoy a Pepsi. We didn't talk about our beer brands, but we have Miller, Coors, Modelo, Heineken. Yeah. So just come up and have a beer and enjoy the time with your family. You can find us online. Our website is nackard.com. Really, Instagram's our big social, and please go on there, because what we've tried to do with our Instagram is tell our story as much as we can, just who we are, who we're supporting. Tons of great short short video content about events that we're sponsoring and that type of thing. So you really get to see a lot of Northern Arizona on our Instagram page. So appreciate everybody to give us a follow and to come up and enjoy Northern Arizona as much as they can.
Palmer, you're fantastic. I don't even need to say it any more than that, but it's just truly remarkable to see someone, my own, like, just growing up, like, I didn't think I would ever be in a position where I could say, hey, I know this person or that person, but it's like, it's really incredible to meet individuals like yourself who have a family legacy, but on top of that, have their own kind of career highlights where it's like, talking to you just made me realize, like, it's an incredible journey that we all live. And the fact that you have this really great opportunity in front of you. And I know that you're looking at it at the same way as, I'm thinking of it, is like, you want the best for this. And I know you at the helm is going to be really, really good news. And I think your grandfather would be very proud of you, just to say that. And it's just really great to have met you. And so before we go, you can hear every episode of our podcast at fightingarizonapodcast.com. We make it easy for you to find us on social media, Finding Arizona Podcast under everything. And last but not least, we end every conversation with the kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends. And we will see you next time. Bye, all.